right. All right. Welcome to another great episode of the Big Ticket Life, where my guests are doing life and business on their terms. We break the rules around here. We see opportunities. We've all had struggles, but myself, my guests, we always remain focused on the goal, a life and business led by themselves on their terms, their way, unapologetically focused on their success and, most importantly, the success of those around them. And we celebrate success here because we all live the big ticket life.
If you're going to live a big ticket life and do business in life on your terms, you got to do big things. It's that kind of discernment, that kind of focus, that kind of forward thinking that's so important if you're going to succeed in business today. And so you unlock fortune and freedom without all the stress that normally comes along with it. The things that make your life successful so you do life and business on your terms.
All right. Well, everybody, welcome to another great show. I'm honored to have Chris Clear join us. Chris is the father to 3 awesome daughters, husband to a rock star wife, and a business owner with a few other partners. He owns a credit card processing company, and I promise you, we're not going to get into the weeds on credit card processing, right, Chris?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of great things business, but that company is called Atlantic Merchant. But interestingly enough, Chris also owns self-storage facilities, and you also coach people who are interested in that industry, and you help them purchase that first facility. So, Chris, welcome to the show, man. Excited to have you on.
Jeff, thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor, man. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, people listening probably always hear that, but like about a guest being excited to be on the show. But I don't know about you. I do always genuinely get excited about being on a show. I kind of think of it as a little performance. I want to give and pour into the person listening. So I appreciate you being excited, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. From my standpoint, man, I'm honored that anybody wants to hear anything I have to say. So I appreciate somebody letting me be a part of it. And having a podcast myself, I know how important it is to have some folks on that do a great job. And like I said, man, I've enjoyed watching yours and seeing the number of guests you had on. So looking forward to being there.
Yeah. Well, you and I are blessed to be a part of a pretty cool community. Part of my show intro is, and I just put this in my Facebook page today as one of my routine, regular daily posts about you've got to be interested in your own success, and that's okay. And it's not selfish. Apex Executives, the group we're a part of, you definitely should check out Apex. Join the apex.com, by the way. That's a whole group of winners, isn't it?
It's unlike any group I've ever been a part of. It's to me, I've never been in a room with that many people that are that successful in so many areas of life, and yet some of the most humble people you'd ever meet. I've never been in a room like that with that much success and zero ego. That's just it's so rare to me. And literally, Flying Friday, that's a day or 2 day event that I look forward to every single month, because I mean, it's great to see people on Zoom. It's awesome to talk to people on the phone. I've actually been texting with a couple of execs this morning. I was on the phone call, actually working with one of the execs just for a quick minute about self-storage earlier. But it's like there's nothing like being in that face-to-face environment with them.
Yeah. I mean, you said the word humble, like, and what I want people listening to know is successful people. One of their first metrics of success, it is for me. And again, I said it in the intro, is being interested in the success of everyone else around you. It's kind of that rising tide lifts all ships mentality. But you can't be successful if you're not interested in your success first while not losing sight of those around you, right? Like that has to be key. So on that note, how do you approach that? What are some things you look for in your day to help raise other people up?
You know, Jeff, my wife, or I'm sorry, not my wife, but one of my daughters says something all the time. When she gets asked what I do, whether it's by teachers or other kids or whatever, she'll tell people that her daddy helps business owners, and wherever he goes, he makes friends and fixes problems. And seriously, that's one of my favorite things to do is to try to help people wherever I can. And it's cliche to say that. I mean, you hear people say it all the time, but like it genuinely brings me a lot of joy, a lot of happiness. It's a sense of fulfillment that somebody's got a problem and somehow I can help fix it. And I was told once that that's kind of arrogant to think that you can fix everyone's problems. And I don't think I can fix everybody's problems, but if I can't help fix the problem, maybe I can just be a shoulder to cry on, or somebody there to reassure you that it's going to get better. But I spend a lot of time with my clients, whether they're a credit card processing client, or even if it's someone that's renting a storage unit from us or something like that. You know, I like learning about people. I like having those conversations with them and getting to know who they are and what makes them tick. And sometimes it's something as simple as they have an issue that maybe I haven't dealt with it, but someone I know has. One of my clients, one of my friends, and I can
Yeah.
kind of relate how they were able to get through it.
Yeah. Well, it's odd to me when you said people think it's arrogant when you say you help fix problems. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think you start out any day to say I fix everybody's problem,
Mm-mm.
right? But I think the value of being someone who's success driven and success oriented is you carry a big Rolodex, right?
Absolutely.
And inside that Rolodex exists the answers for problems,
Mm.
whether it's friends, family, clients, uh, uncovering opportunity, right?
Right. Hmm.
In that Rolodex. And that's where getting around the right people, I cannot talk about that enough. I mean, you referenced Fly In Friday. That's something Apex executives do once a month. We all converge on Dallas, Texas, and have a meeting and get together and brainstorm and basically, continue to level up and challenge
Hmm.
one another. And you're darn right. Some of those wins in that room are massive. And I've never approached it, and I hope no one does. Like I hope everybody like looks at it as that's awesome for you, and I now want to challenge myself
Hmm.
to continue to raise up to those new levels. So it's really kind of this force multiplier um, that I think is very cool. But in your position, doing what you do with credit card processing,
Hmm.
you've kind of got that finger on the pulse, right? Like you've got this insight into business, especially. I mean, the last 2 years has to have like shown you some tremendous new data, new insights. So walk us through what like the last 2 years have looked like and where you see business. And I guess I should ask, do you serve more Main Street type processors? Are you doing more like internet e-com type processors, a mix of everything?
Hmm.
Like kind of dig into that, who you're serving and and like what you've seen and where we're going. We'll unpack
Sure.
that a little bit.
And what you said about the last 2 years is spot on. We as a company, we partner with banks and credit unions. A lot of people in the credit card processing space, they get their business coming from either cold calling or lots of advertising and things like that. And we just have always partnered with banks and credit unions because that's a much better scenario for us. It's a much better scenario, and a lot of times for the business owners. But when you work with bank partners, you're going to take care of anyone that they refer to you. So we do have a large client base that is your typical mom and pop store, retail restaurant type scenarios. We have a lot of those, but we work with a lot of manufacturers and wholesalers. E-commerce in the past was a very small percentage of our overall portfolio. What's interesting is, this mythical thing that's it's invisible. This I heard someone on a podcast earlier today call it the COVID. And like where I live in the South, people talk about going to the Walmart. So it's insane. But what COVID did is COVID changed the game, and it changed the game for our industry in a couple of different ways. Um, Business owners, a lot of them, and I'm sure a lot of people that are going to be watching or listening to this, they experienced what it was like to suddenly get told by the governor, or maybe it's the mayor of the town you live in or the state you're in, you have to go home because you're not considered essential anymore. And
Oh,
somebody getting to tell you that you're not essential and that you can't run your business. No, you still have overhead. You still have the
yep.
lives of your employees that you took on the responsibility to pay them. You have all these different things, and that all falls on your shoulders. But just because somebody decided that you need to go home, suddenly you can't run your business. And so what we saw immediately, and where I live in Tennessee, the I believe it was the third week of March when it all started. Um, there was a Sunday, the very first Sunday that churches were not allowed to meet in person. That kicked off, all of the COVID stuff in my area.
Yep.
On Wednesday of that week, and I don't know why Wednesday is the significant date, but on Wednesday of that week, I had churches calling left and right who had been calling their banks or their credit unions that we partner with, saying, we've
Okay.
got to find a way to take payments online. And so that started it. And then from there, we've seen business owners left and right that realize we need a way to bring business in, or to bring payments in. So a lot of them added an e-commerce piece to their business, their existing business. And then a lot of people that were considering opening a business, instead of going the retail route, decided to start off from the very beginning as an e-commerce type business. So e-commerce has grown exponentially. And now, because all these businesses, think of your Walmart, your Home Depot, Lowe's, those national type retailers, they all put these beautiful little signs when you first go through the door, and it says there's a national coin shortage. So either pay with exact change or pay with a credit card, because they don't want to hand out change. So people became very trained to stop paying in cash. Most businesses wouldn't
Yep.
take checks anyway. So our volume in the industry has just went through the roof. It's insane.
Yeah. Wow. I never correlated the coin shortage to increasing in volume
Yep.
because I just don't pay attention to that. And I don't
Hmm.
want to make this like a political show. And I don't want to make it a show about, well, I know this inside info and I know that. But
Right.
like you saw in the intro, my camp trailer, I have that at
Yep.
a permanent site. And one of my neighbors works for the Philadelphia Mint, minting coins. He's like, we've shipped more coins the last 2 years than we've ever shipped.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm just going to put that out there. We can move on. Uh, More often than not, as we all know, as
Yep.
responsible adults, the truth is somewhere in the middle of things, right?
Yep.
So, but you said something about essential. I think again, I'm here. We are. I said I don't want to make it political. I don't want to make it government focused, but we're going to do it.
There you
Um,
go.
I think when you tell me, when I got told I'm not essential, I said, well, my family's pretty darn essential to me.
Yes.
My vendor partners are pretty darn essential to me.
Mhm.
My landlord thinks I'm pretty important because he wants his rent, and on down the line. And I think a lot of people really looked at that moment as saying, wait a minute, what I do is righteous, whether it's working on a line in a factory, whether it's delivering produce to the grocery store, whether it's having a business, leading a church, it is of crucial importance to the person paying that person, the person receiving the service or the goods, whatever they are. And I just thought that was such a criminal moment and such a slight against people. And you tell me, I think people have responded by saying, you know what? I'm going to go do my own thing. They go
100%.
and get their own, they go kind of start their own side hustle. Like you said, uh, people, instead of opening up signing a 5-year lease, traditional brick and mortar, they crawl, walk, run, but they started up an e-com thing,
Yep.
or they started, instead of doing a baked goods store, they're just doing it from a community kitchen and taking orders online. But
Hmm.
did you take that the same way? Like, what, you just called me less than important
Right. Absolutely.
and
That's
not
the thing.
essential?
They and so like from our perspective, so being in the banking world, my wife works with a large medical group. So technically we were considered essential, but I'm looking at it going, oh my gosh, I got clients all over the place, not just in my area, but all over the country that are scrambling going, what are we going to do? And to not to get political or to, like you said, to jump down that path. But here's the thing that really infuriates me.
We're going to strut right down it.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, so here's the thing. All right. My clients, as well as myself, we're what the mainstream media will call your small business owners, your SMBs, right?
Right.
That's the folks that make the country move. And
Yeah.
so when a business gets told, I'm sorry, sir, you own a paint store. I'm sorry, sir, you have whatever business. I'm sorry, ma'am, you have this business over here. That's not considered essential. But you know what was considered essential? Walmart was considered essential.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Walmart was considered essential because they sell groceries, but they didn't block off all those other aisles, so
Brother.
everything else from clothes
Yep.
to whatever, all that stuff was considered, essential for them, but not for the local
Yeah.
businesses. And so what I've seen in my area, and I've seen a lot of this through social media as well, is I've seen more people have an interest and a focus on supporting local businesses now that they never had before,
Yep.
because they understand those businesses were the ones, some of them, unfortunately, they shut down because of COVID, and they just weren't able to weather the storm. And you can give me all kinds of excuses like, well, maybe if they prepared better, maybe if they did this. Well, you know what? We don't know. You don't know the circumstances.
Right.
But I can tell you, I had people who went out of business during that time frame, and then I had other people who pivoted and opened a brand new business. And if they
Yep.
had not done that, they'd be working for someone today and instead of being self-employed themselves.
Yeah. I mean, when you touched on the big box stores, and I don't want to spend time on it because for our
Mhm.
listeners, it's not all that productive, but I was right there with you. I mean, I live nearby a Lowe's shopping center. I was out with a sign saying basically they shut my business, but this business is open. I had friends say, Jeff, you're taking it too far. I said, whoa, wait a minute. On Black Friday, prior to all of the world changing, these stores never had any problem crowd controlling. There's no reason they couldn't block off non-essential items. I mean, if we're going to go down this
Yep.
road, let's go down this road equal to all. But we
Mhm.
didn't do that, right? And that was my biggest contention. But talking about businesses that pivoted, businesses that unfortunately did go under. I've got a saying about, COVID has done two things. It's either allowed you to make excuses or it's permitted you to level up.
Mhm.
And like as an example, I just drove home this morning from Atlantic City. My wife and I took a couple days away with friends, and it really grinds my gears, I guess you could say. 2 years later, you know, hotel rooms still aren't getting cleaned,
Right.
right? But the rates are higher than ever.
Yep.
They got less staff, pushing the cleaning carts around the hallways.
Mhm.
Do you think they could put a couple extra sets of towels in each room? No. And again, like I'm going to remember these kinds of experiences, right?
Mhm.
Where companies choose actively to make excuses and not choose to level up. So, from your perspective, you got any examples of like maybe as a whole or maybe a business that has leveled up in the last couple of years? Like what you have anything like that you can share with people watching, listening?
Tons of them. I have clients that had always thought about maybe taking their sales online, but didn't know how. Never wanted to invest the time, never wanted to invest the money. And suddenly, because they got told they weren't essential, they had time on their hands. So
Hmm.
I've got a number of clients that were able to launch e-com stores. Um, I've also got clients, like one of my clients, just as an example, he's a great guy who he owns a business where he has to be in order to make sales, he has to be in the offices selling to his clients. And his clients may be anyone from a retail store to a medical group to an attorney. Um, just he has a huge range of customers. But what he does involves restaurants. And so he also needs those restaurants to be open. Well, the minute COVID comes along, Suddenly
Yep.
restaurants are takeout only. So the advertising that he sells is advertising inside of restaurants. So there's no real demand for his services at the time. And with no idea of how long things would be shut down, within 2 weeks of everything starting, the shutdown starting, he called me and he said, "Hey, I need your help." And I knew what was coming. I thought he's just going to call, say, "Hey, I need you to close my merchant account. We have no idea what's going to happen here." And instead, he started off the call and he goes, "Man, this thing sucks, doesn't it?" He's like, "COVID. Who would think that something that we don't even know anything about it could shut us down like this?" And I said, "Well, I understand completely." And he goes, "So I need your help." And I was like, "Sure, man." And I'm getting ready to say, "I'll go ahead and close your account for you." And he goes, "I need to open up a new merchant account." And I was like, "Okay, great.
Wow.
What are we doing?" And he goes, "Well," he said, years ago in a previous life, I used to sell some stuff, and I did it door to door." And I was like, "Wait a minute, you sold stuff door to door? Okay, what are we doing?" He goes, "Well, we're gonna flip that. We're not gonna sell door to door, but we're gonna follow the model that we had with that company. And so I'm gonna start this brand new business, and it's gonna be a concierge service. You can make an appointment. You can come in. You can pick up your stuff. We'll have it packaged and ready for you. We'll do curbside, but we're gonna get you taken care of." Well, I was blown away because that I've been trying to help my clients, like my restaurants in particular. I've been walking them through the ones that were going, "Oh my gosh, what are we going to do?" And I'm like, "Look, you're going to take out, you're going to do online ordering, you're going to
Yep.
deliver, you're not going to cater, but you're going to deliver the food." So I'm working with people. And then here he's coming to me with this idea. And that turned into a very successful second business for him. And, and now he's been able to speed up his retirement planning by about 5 years, just because
Oh,
he
that's
now has a
fantastic.
second income coming in that is some months it's actually rivaling his primary business. But
Good for
but
him.
he wasn't going to sit back and just get told, "I'm sorry, you can't do your job anymore. You can't provide for your family."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of stories like that, and Apex is full of them. I mean, we have so many people between entourage, entrepreneurs, executives. There's a lot of us out there that found something to do during that time. So
Yep.
I really do think, and it's probably not a popular commentary on COVID, but I think COVID was a blessing for a lot of people because it gave them time and forced them to do something that either they'd been thinking about doing and or knew they needed to do, but they'd never have forced themselves to do it.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And I know, if you're listening and you were hurt and you're still recovering or had to start over, I'm sure, Chris, you have sympathy for somebody listening who's in that moment. I
Absolutely.
know I do.
Hmm.
Um, but just keep working at it. It'll come around. You'll figure it out, just like the example that Chris highlighted. Maybe it's not going to be that same timeline, but
Hmm.
you keep doing the work. It will happen. And connect to great people. Maybe it's not an Apex group. I would ask you why not, but
Hmm.
connect to good people who are interested in being successful, and that's going to bleed and breed over to you, which is great. But I think when we talk about business, to me, being a business owner, as an example, when we got the permission, now my business partner and I, we kept working all throughout when Pennsylvania was supposed to be shut down. Our employees were home because I'm not catching a federal case with OSHA. That's one of my federal alphabet agencies in my life is a no go. Like it's
Right.
why I'll never do a franchise, right? I don't care how much money I'm leaving on the table. If I've got like the lightning in a bottle idea for franchising, I'll sell it to somebody who has an appetite for franchising and dealing with the SEC. I don't. So we sent the employees home. Ben and I kept working. And I really believe it was that grit and determination to keep going that propelled our business June 5th and forward when we were allowed to open. But that night of June 5th, and I think you'll like this, I messaged the two guys that were working the store. I said, do not turn the open sign off. That open sign never, ever turns off again.
That's awesome.
And I don't care what the electric bill is. I don't care how much the neon is to replace. it never, ever turns off. Tell me
Mm-hmm.
no, and I'm going to fight harder. Tell me no again. And like, it's kind of like when De Niro does the commentary on Pesci in Casino, you
Yeah.
know, you bring a knife, he brings a gun, you bring a bat, it's just going to keep coming. I'm not a violent individual. It was the example that just came to my
No,
mind,
I get it.
but like, tell me no. And I'm going to say, well, why?
Mm-hmm.
And that you better have a damn good reason. And I didn't
100%.
see good reasons at the time. And some customers of ours wanted delays to get the stuff in their home. That was fine. Others, they
Mm-hmm.
wanted it right away, and we kept moving forward. And I think business ownership is one of the biggest expressions. I know you're very pro America. You
Mm-hmm.
believe in our country. This flag, first time I'm sharing this on the show, you'll like this. Looking at the screen, that little flag right there was the flag I had in my hand when I said the first Pledge of Allegiance as a U.S. citizen in September of 2019. So that's why this flag hangs up here. I believe that business ownership is one of the biggest, most personal expressions of liberty and freedom in our nation because we have the ability to do so.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts there?
I agree completely. Every time I hear somebody complain, and I don't care if it's a celebrity or whoever, but celebrities are the ones who get the most press with it. Every time somebody complains about something in the country and they're like, well, if this person gets elected, we're going to leave the country or whatever. My thought has always been the same thing. Leave. Leave.
Right.
I'll help you pack because we have it better
I
than
got some
anybody
boxes.
else. Absolutely. It's like, I mean, I'll even store your stuff for that matter. But it's like we have the best. We have it better than
You almost
anybody
made me
else in the
spit my
world.
water out.
But here's the thing, man. Think about it. Business owners, we're the underdogs, right? We're a nation of underdogs. We were
Yeah.
built as an underdog, and we've grown. And I don't care what industry you're in, the odds are stacked against you when you take it upon yourself to go out and start a business. So right there, you earn my respect because you had an idea and you actually did something with it.
Yeah.
Lots of people will never take action on starting a business or anything because they're waiting for everything to get perfect. And Ryan Stewman has probably one of my favorite sayings, and it's imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time, and it's true because
Yep.
there's lots of people who are waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting to get things just right, and in the meantime, they're losing thousands and thousands, if not millions of dollars because they just didn't get started. I mean, it's
Well,
asinine to me.
isn't it?
Okay.
Isn't the reason for delayed start for some people because they're looking for permission from their circle,
Oh, sure, absolutely.
right?
Well, sometimes it's permission, and sometimes it's just a straight up fear. It's the fear of
Right.
what will they think. You
Right.
know,
Or what are they saying?
right? Yep.
Right. They're
And
saying, you can't do this. Oh my gosh, online competition. Oh my gosh, how are you going to open up a little eatery when you got Olive Garden in town? Well, Olive Garden sucks. It's microwave bag food.
right.
You know, in my humble opinion, Olive Garden, please don't sue me.
Oh, that's funny. But no, you're absolutely right. And you know what's funny is we hear people talk all the time about they won't do this or they said that or they think this. Someday I'd like to meet who they is. I mean,
Right.
each of us, it's somebody different. Sometimes it's the people that are the closest to you. Oftentimes it's the people closest. It's the it's your family that maybe they think they're trying to protect you or they're looking out for you.
Mm,
But I'll tell
yep.
you, a lot of times it's your family, and they're telling you that because you they've seen how you handle yourself. They've seen you start things and not finish. They've seen you make promises and not fulfill. They've seen you not do what you said you were going to do. And so they're either saying that because they're protecting you, or maybe they're protecting themselves from yet another one of your, um, let's just call it stories.
Yep.
And I say that as a guy who I've worked my butt off to get to where I am. I work really hard. I'm not famous. I am a guy who has used that famous saying of, I listen to what you say and I watch what you do. And if the
Yep.
two don't line up, you're telling me all I need to know. But I've been that guy at times that, man, I was talking the game, but I didn't take the action. And then I had to live with the guilt. I had to live with the headache. I had to live with I can't believe the embarrassment, really. I can't believe I didn't do that. So, if anything, if that's been you, that's fine. Past is the past. It sucks. It's over with. Let's move forward and forget about what you didn't do. Go start doing something now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that accountability for action is big. I think there's two versions of they, right? So there's the first they that you shared, who is an intuitive, insightful they. But
True.
they may not share what they're seeing because there's the feeling aspect. They don't want to call out their brother, sister, father, mother, cousin, whoever, right? Friend. I think the other group of they is this group is somebody who is very comfortable with that draft of you, right?
True.
If they see Chris step out of his comfort zone and they're on Chris's payroll, whether payroll in quotes, whether that be
Mm.
financially, mind share time, focus on charity time, right? If they see Chris starting to get excited about this new thing, they may say, "Oh, I don't think that's such a good idea," because really
Mm.
deep down, it's going to upset their apple cart.
Yep.
Like they're saying, "Whoa, whoa! If Chris's card moves away from me, I can't draft on him anymore." And
Yep.
I think it's important for somebody listening to really understand where that's coming from and then how you handle it. I'm going to touch on imposter syndrome because this is one for me that I really try to get like proper definition on, properly communicate to people. So, what's your definition of the imposter syndrome?
I'll tell you, I had heard that term used several different times, and I wasn't really sure that I understood it. And I don't even know that my definition of it is accurate. But I felt it probably more so when I joined executives than anything else. Mostly the moment I walked into the room. I walked into the room and I was like, "Oh my gosh, who are all these people?" And then I start meeting them and learning about them. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, their businesses are doing so much, and their grossing sales are this, their net income is that. Um, they own all these locations. They're doing all these things." And all I kept thinking is, I'm in the wrong room. I don't belong here. Um,
Yep.
I mean,
Second
literally,
that
like,
one.
I second guessed myself so much, especially at the very first fly on Friday. And frankly, I wasn't I had too much pride to leave, but I was so freaking intimidated because I was like, oh my gosh, like, I know who these people are because of Facebook. I haven't met these people before. And the opinions I had of some of them totally based off of just their posting. It's not that I had negative opinions of any of them, but then I met them and it's like, man, these people are so much sharper, better,
Yep.
whatever. And like, man, I was so intimidated to be in that room. And still, I'm intimidated when I'm there just because I value that group so much and the impact they've had on my life in the last year. Um, Not necessarily like I mean, I do business with some of them, they do business with me,
Yep.
but it's more about, man, I mean, like, I take their time seriously,
Oh yeah.
because I respect them, man. I mean, those are people. I compare it to sports. I have I was never a great athlete, but I love sports. I love being part of a team. And the thing is, it's like, we win together, we lose together, but in either case, we are together. And I'm convinced when I'm in that room, there isn't a problem somebody can bring up in that room that can't be solved by other people in that room.
Yep.
And so, it's intimidating, but it's so fulfilling to be a part of that. To be one of the people that's there, just able to absorb it all. And um, I probably talk. I know I talk a lot, but I keep my mouth shut when I'm there a lot because it's like, oh my gosh, man, I just want to soak it in. I'm old enough that there used to be these commercials when I was a kid that would talk about investing, and it said, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. And I seriously, every time that people start talking to there, I feel like I just need to stop what I'm doing and take notes. And it doesn't
Yeah.
matter who it is. That's the thing. It's not like there's one person or two people or three. There's 100 plus people in there, and every one of them, when they start talking, I know they're great at what they do. I just need to learn from them.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a really
Yeah.
long answer.
No, no. I mean, I think, kind of distilling that down. Um, Not everybody has right now as they're listening to the show, whether it's live here today or about a week after we do these shows live, they come out on audio player. You might be listening. It's like, well, I can't even afford to fly to Texas once a month for 10 months out of the year, let alone pay the entry fee for the room, for the group that it is. Um, but the reality is, you know, I think the first metric that you need to tell yourself is if you're paying in taxes, you're ahead of like half the people in this nation.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not trying to make a contest out of life, right? I think where we are in our society right now, you talked about social media. Maybe this wasn't exactly what you're talking about, but like everybody shows, everybody shows the play. No one shows the backstage mess, right?
Yep.
Like no one's willing to pull back the curtain. So, you know, take in what you're hearing. If you're paying in taxes, you're like in the top half of our nation's producers, which is
Mhm.
great. If you're happily married and not divorced, right? You're in another category. If you are divorced, but you're leading your children, congratulations. Keep taking that action. And the thing, you've been part of the executive crowd for a year now. For me, it's only 4 months, but the compounding effect, it's doing the hockey stick thing for me personally, right? Like it's kind of like this, and then and it's just going to go up like that. The connections, both personally, professionally, financially, it's really astounding. And the message that I want everybody to take away is just continue on with the positive action, the positive contribution that you have to give to people. It doesn't mean go down a road, like we see on Shark Tank, people bring forth an idea that is
Mhm.
just not good, right?
Right.
There's no market for it. It's like this passion project and it's just not good. But, that's why being in a room of smart people is important because you'll get that guidance of, is this just something you're passionate about, or is this something people will pay you for and see value in this world? But I can't talk about it enough where you got to stack that positive action no matter how small it is, like just keep building it up
Mhm.
because it really becomes this foundation for you in your life. Um, so yeah, that's what I have to say there. Anything else to add on to that?
The one thing you mentioned, stacking it. I'll tell you something that I have found has probably been one of the biggest game changers for me. Um, I've always been a kind of a positive attitude guy. I'd rather look at the glass as being half full than half empty and all that. But, we can't help but eventually you're going to be affected by whatever you're around. If you're around positive people in a positive environment, you're going to see the positive opportunities that exist. If you're around somebody that's always pulling you down, then they're going to keep pulling you down. They're complaining about the government. They're complaining about gas prices. They're complaining about the Kardashians or whatever it is. You're going to end up in that negative mindset. And so one of the
Yep.
things that I did is I went on I guess you could call it a social media campaign, and the goal was to I'm going to fill my news feed with positivity. And the best way that I found to do that was I started looking anytime that someone would send me a friend request, or if I sought someone out, man, your friends matter to me.
Oh,
So if
100%.
I see that we've got hundreds of friends that are in common, I've got a pretty good idea who you are based off of your other friends. And
Yep.
so probably I'm guessing 75 to 80%, maybe even more, of my friends on Facebook, it's the folks from that are a part of Apex. And if they're not part of
Yep.
Apex, they're part of Arete or it's Lions Not Sheep. They're part of a positive group like that, and I
Yep.
know that they've got the right mindset. And so when I do go through my news feed, and it's not that often. I mean, I've got a large Facebook group that I spend some time in, but I don't spend a tremendous amount of time in messing or in the news feed. But when I do, it's win after win after
Yep.
win. It's people who are having wins in business. They're having wins with their family. It's winning, and
I
it's
mean,
so much better.
yeah, environment is everything.
Everything.
It, it really is. You said you used the phrase pour in, and I've been reading and seeing as of late, like, and it leads to my intro. It leads to, again, this post I made today that I'll reference. Like, if your cup's not full, and maybe the fullness in the cup ebbs and flows day over day, right?
Hmm.
But if you're not focused on making your cup full so it overflows and you can pour into other people's success, which goes to being interested in the success of those around you, that's a problem,
Hmm.
right? Like, if your cup's dry, what's going to fill that? Negativity,
100%.
depression, addiction, vices,
Hmm.
because you're going to look for joy, again, in quotes, in some way, and it may not be a good way. And
Hmm.
then you can't pour that success into other people. Not at all. So, I mean, I really think pouring into people, you touched on it, circled back to it here, is just so important. So, you said about mutual friends. So here's an interesting question I have for you. What's your automatic number without clicking the profile? Do you have a number where you're like, okay,
I
we're
do.
good? What's
Yep.
that number? How many mutual
So
friends?
it used to be it was 100, and then every once in a while somebody would sneak in, and then it went to 200, and then every once in a while someone would sneak in. Now I just keep creeping it up. It's minimum of
Yep.
300, and that'll go up from there. But
Yep.
but I and here's the thing: even when I see the number, the very first thing that I do is I'll click the profile and I just scroll down. I don't even want to look at what you post. I want to see who the friends are. And if for whatever reason, there's a handful of execs that typically they're the first people that show up as mutual friends. And I'm like, you know what?
Yep.
If he's a friend, we're good. So
Yep. Yeah.
yeah.
For me right now, that number's 100. But I realized as I was looking last night, I'm like, crap, some of the times we have 350, 400. So
Yep.
for me, I'm gonna start moving that number up. And I let everybody else kind of gestate, percolate a little bit. I
Hmm.
kind of see those numbers creep up as I approve, as maybe they get more networked in. And listen, please, if listen to this, don't take what Chris and I are saying as like we're arrogant. Oh, you can't be
Oh
in our
no,
circle.
no.
But here's what happens if you let in the person that's you got three mutual friends with. What happens to me? I don't know about you, Chris, but like I get pitched weight loss
Oh,
because
dude.
they see the puffy cheeks, right?
You and
I'm
me
like
both.
gripping my puffy cheeks, right?
Yep.
And they're like, oh, that guy's fat. He needs to lose some weight. Let me hit him up in the DM, which is like just the total wrong way to go around it.
Yep.
Um, because what most people don't know about me is I'm a walking science experiment with all the accidents that I've had, and I'm just really, and this is not an excuse, but I'm doing it right now, actually stretching my left leg because it is immensely sore. But exercise for me is a real problem. So I have to be more judicious with diet, and I am more and more focused on that intentionally because that is about what success is, right? You can't be all that successful if you're super overweight or have a lot of health problems. But yeah, that number thing's interesting. And
Yep.
like for me, if you hit me up and we have one or two or three mutual friends, that's just an instant delete. Like
Yep.
to me, the whole idea of putting positivity into your newsfeed really, and tell me what you think of this, really is about fighting off what the algorithms want to feed you.
100%. It absolutely is. So I figured out that once I started doing this, my news feed changed completely. I got away from
Hmm.
politics. If I see something that's political, it's literally somebody, Drewby, or somebody sharing a meme making fun of something on the political side, because at the end of the day, you and I can post all we want about whoever we like, the right, the left, the up, the down. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Nobody's changing their opinions based on what you and I think, just like we're not going to change ours. So I got that focus on positivity. I look forward to going on Facebook now just to see the wins, and if anything, it pushes me because I'm like, man, I've had this last couple of days have been just not bad, but I don't have these massive wins, and because I see other people having those wins, that's just motivation to me. So I
Yeah.
love it. And one other thing that you mentioned about, like, if you just see one or two friends that you have it in common, here's what I know: that person's either going to pitch me weight loss, they're going to pitch me on forex, crypto, something like that, or they're
Yeah.
a really attractive girl, and I'll click on that picture just so I can see who the mutual friends are, because I'm judging you. Because
Oh
if you're
yeah.
one of the two or three guys that are the mutual
Yep.
friends, and that girl has like two pictures and there's a link to her whatever website, I'm judging those
Yep.
guys now. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Um, but
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway,
I mean, hey, right there with you. I
yep.
look at it in the same way. So on that note on crypto, topically,
Hmm.
so we're going to kind of like take an immediate left turn here in the
Sure.
conversation. Um, so topically, right now as we're talking, I think Visa and Mastercard have shut off service in Russia. Is
They
that
have.
right?
Yes.
So again, we're not going to. I'm not asking you to pick sides, Ukraine or Russia. I'm
Hmm.
not at all. To me, and I shared this in the executives group, my learnings of setting up a crypto wallet. The takeaway that I took from that is you don't just do that overnight. It takes some time to build it. There's some security steps. You can't just dump money in from a credit card. At least this is my understanding of it. Is that right? It has to be through your bank card because credit cards, they don't want the liability, as I
Right,
understand.
because there's chargebacks. Yeah.
Right. Because you're like, yeah, I went and bought $50,000 of crypto, and then I go to the credit card company, and because
Right.
crypto is anonymous, they have a hard time proving it. And then I just got 50 grand of free crypto. So there's a
Right.
lot of steps. The lesson for me is, and I would urge everybody to do this, at least get a wallet set up with something, $100,
Mhm.
$50, $500, because sad be the day for you that, listen, I'm positive there are good people in Russia, many of them.
Oh yeah.
If they only had a Visa card, they're done. They can't transact
There's
business. They can't go buy groceries. They can't put gas in their car. Um, so topically, that's happened. From your view, what's next for those people? Like, what happens next?
So before that happened, there were a lot of people who made the run on the bank, so to speak, trying to get their money out to have cash on hand. And the
Hmm.
minute that something like that happens, the banks immediately start to limit what you can get. And for people that have never worked around banking, what they don't understand is the bank just doesn't have millions of dollars sitting in the
Right.
vault. They only have so much cash on hand, and a lot of that's because of liability and just practicality. So if you have $1 million sitting in your checking account or checking accounts at a bank, and you decide you're going to go and pull all that out, you show up at the bank, they're going to tell you come back in 3 days, because they have to order the money to have the money there for you. So
Yep.
the a lot of people weren't able to get the money they needed. Visa and MasterCard shutting things down. The reality is, uh, a lot of businesses, very few businesses, I was going to say a lot of businesses don't, but let's just say very few businesses do accept any sort of crypto. So a lot of those people
Right.
they're in a really tough spot right now. And frankly, it's a place I don't envy. And what you said is so true. I'm sure there are lots of great people there who, unfortunately, they're having to deal with the consequences of their leadership. And the crazy thing is, don't think that couldn't
Yep.
happen here or anywhere else. You know, you can be impacted, as we saw with COVID and everything else. You can be impacted with
Yep.
nothing that you did or had to do with.
Well,
And one of
just
the things,
look at the
I'm sorry,
arbitrary look. I mean, here in Pennsylvania, it was so arbitrary. Essential, non-essential.
absolutely.
And then within the definitions of that, if you fought, you might get a ruling, maybe.
Hmm.
So just to interject that, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Well, and so there's 2 points I'll hit real quick, and then I'll stop. But like, so in addition to like Visa and Mastercard shutting off everything happening there, let me take it one step that's maybe a little bit closer to home. Let's say that you, as a business owner, with the industry you're in, let's say that, for example, Visa and Mastercard decide not to support your industry anymore. And this happens.
Mm,
It's happened before.
yep.
Most of the
Yep.
time, it's not Visa, Mastercard, Discover, and American Express that's the issue. It's the bank that's doing the processing that decides that to play politics as well. And so this happened in the credit card processing world with a really large bank. They're around somewhere in America. Don't sue Jeff or me, Bank of America. But they decided to come along and say, we're not going to support credit card processing for people in the gun industry. Several other
Yep.
banks did that. And
Yep.
QuickBooks, of all things, they shut down and refunded money for businesses that were in the gun industry. They shut down the merchant accounts and refunded purchases to the customers. So now the business sold an item and had their money taken away. So, don't think things like that can't happen. So I think whether it's crypto or whatever else you can come up with, you need to have a backup plan in place. I mean,
Yeah. I
that's just
mean,
something you should always have.
yeah, kind of how you look at your investments, right? You have a good mix of
Hmm.
things, aggressive,
Absolutely.
mild risk, super conservative risk, right? You might have cash, CDs, stocks, bonds, real
Yep.
estate, operationally, your business should be diverse, you know,
Hmm.
being able to accept credit cards, being able to affect the cryptocurrency payment, maybe gold and silver, depending on who you are, what you do.
Yep.
You know, the world is, we're seeing the world differently now. Don't want to be doomy and gloomy, but it just, the title of this episode is Clear Thinking, Straight Shooting. I mean, gee whiz,
All right.
we've got somebody here that's got insight into it. You just heard it, like have the ability to pivot in what you take, how you can pay bills, how you
Hmm.
can buy inventory, how you can sell things. It really does make sense. Parallel charity that you like to support
Hmm.
is about teaching youth how to shoot guns, how to handle guns safely. I would imagine that's a massive part of what you do. Share
Absolutely.
with, share with everybody listening about that. I'm a big, and by the way, before we go any further, I got to give a shout out to our mutual friend, Steve Schabecker, Sheepdog
Ah,
Firearms. I'm a customer. All
great
right.
guy.
Um, I will neither confirm or deny what I'm a customer of Steve. Steve sells a lot of things.
Hmm.
This way, the interweb doesn't put me on a list, but sent me some awesome hats.
Yep.
Okay. And a whole bunch of really cool t shirts. So just show those off. So
That's
thank you,
awesome.
Steve. Sent me some great shirts. Okay.
That's fantastic.
This one I like the most. I don't usually do Christmas shirts, but I like this one. Hanging out with my nomies. So
That's
thank you,
awesome.
Steve. It's always good to know folks like Steve at Sheepdog Firearms. But yeah, so your charity. Tell us a little bit about that. Why you're passionate about it.
So I mentioned before, I have a large Facebook group. It's we're about to cross 19,000 members, and
Oh, wow.
I enjoy shooting quite a bit. I grew up shooting and hunting, and I enjoy a lot of competition. And so the thing that brings a lot of joy to me, I mean, I have kids, but I think that kids getting taught lessons at a young age, that sculpts you, that molds you in not just the current times, but in the future. And so, just like I'm a huge fan of kids in sports, I believe that every kid should be familiar with firearms. And the reason I say that is because what happens a lot of times is when you hear these horrific stories about a child killing another child or something like that, they were curious. They were
Yep.
curious about a gun and they didn't know how to handle it safely. And first and foremost, a lot of times that gun was left out where the kids could get access when they shouldn't have had access to
Yeah.
begin with.
It was
But
first
and
left
there
in
was
an
no
unsafe position.
supervision. That's right,
Yep.
no supervision whatsoever. And so this classic
Yep.
shooting sports, they are very instrumental in helping children get started in shooting sports. And what's neat about it is shooting sports are, whether we're talking something like um, handgun competitions or rifle competitions, or maybe it's shotguns or whatever. What's really important about that is kids are taught from a very young age by trained people, not just you know Uncle Joe or whoever. I mean, I think your family should always be there to help you with it, but I think it's fantastic to have people who are great with not only firearm safety, but they also know how to work with kids. And they do a great job of helping kids learn about guns, how to respect them, how to safely handle them. And because you take away that curiosity factor and they're allowed to touch them and hold them and shoot them, they suddenly don't have the only reference as far as a gun goes is whatever they've seen on TV.
Right.
Whatever
Or
they
in
saw on
video
a
game.
absolutely video games
Yep.
are a huge example. And so I'm a big fan of that. We are we're very strong believers in the fact that if you understand how a gun works, you understand the consequences that when you pull that trigger, something comes out that barrel and it's going to tear up whatever it hits.
Yep.
That alone, it's all about helping a kid understand what happens there. And not all kids have an interest in guns, and that's fine, but at least they know what happens with them. They know how to use them safely, and they understand what happens if they handle them carelessly. So I'm a big fan of anyone that is involved in helping kids get out and learn something. I don't care if it's sports or if it's shooting or anything, because at the end of the day, I mean, our kids are our future.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you. I take my kids shooting at the range with me. One of the like parallel life lessons is I said, much like that bullet out of the firearm, once you shoot it, it's down range, it's on target, and it's going to tear something up. And
Yep.
similar. Think of the words and the actions you take in
Hmm.
life, and not with a weapon in your hand, but just how
Yep.
you treat your friends, how you treat your teachers, how you respect those around you, the way you conduct yourself. Sometimes those words are going to tear somebody up, and you didn't really think about it too much.
Yep.
Um,
And you can't get it back.
and
You
you
know.
can't, yeah. Once it's out, hard. It's going to take a whole bunch of actions later to put the put it proverbially back in the chamber, so to say,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
So, no, that's very cool. Again, topically, no matter how you feel about firearms, at this moment, I'm sure the Ukrainian people are happy for the firearms they're being given from other folks around the world.
Yep.
Um, you know, I think the way our founders, yeah, I really study the Constitution, Declaration of Independence. I'm in this immense period right now studying from 1776 to 1797, or I'm sorry,
Mm.
1787, that 11-year period. Um, and I think the way our founders, if you look at the way the first, second, third, fourth, up through the 10 amendments were set up, it is very special. And it's really, truly meant to be discourse, issues with one another, really is truly meant to be done in a peaceful manner.
Hmm.
But that Second Amendment is up there first. Well, second. It's not the latter. It's in the front half, right?
Right.
It is there for a reason. It is there intentionally. We are sadly seeing some of that today in our society. But to your charity, I think it's fantastic what you're doing there. How'd you get started with it? It was just love of shooting as a kid, growing up with it.
Yeah, my dad was always really influential in being outdoors. I mean, obviously, I'm a little older. I just turned 48, but video games weren't really a thing back then, and so we were always
Yep.
outside playing sports or hunting or something. And as I got older, especially once I got away from athletics, I missed the competition aspect of it. And so I've always enjoyed hunting and still do. But several years ago, I had to have a conversation with my wife, and I was like, "Listen, I need something competitive. I compete in sales. I compete in some other things. I'm a little disappointed in myself that I took athletics off the table. I'm going back to fix that now, but competition in shooting was a big thing to me, and so started
Yep.
shooting more and more, and it just kind of grew from there. And like I said, that gun group, I started it basically just to see if I could start a group on Facebook,
Yep.
and then I heard Andy Frisella say something one day that really stuck a chord with me, and so or struck a chord. And next thing you know, we went from 450 members to I think we're at about 18,700 and something right now, and that's over the last 3 years. So we're
Wow.
actually
That's great.
launching an entire e-com business and everything, and actually a separate gun forum. We're launching every bit of that because of that group. And that's just because Facebook and guns don't really go well together. And
Yeah.
we
Yep.
play on Facebook. It's their playground, and we just get to play there. So if they change their
Yeah.
mind and kill a group, then it's gone. So
Yeah. There's that freedom and liberty thing, right?
that's a fact. Definitely
It's
so.
just the way it goes. We got to respect it. The knife cuts both ways, right? So we go and pivot, and like you said, you're doing your own thing in your own forum, which is great. So real quick before we wrap up, so you're a sharpshooter. So what do you like? What's your skill? What's your thing?
When it comes to as far as guns goes,
Like, yeah, like target competition. Like,
rifles.
what's the modality? Okay.
Yeah, it's all about rifles. I shoot a lot of PRS matches, which most of the ones I shoot are actually rimfire matches, but we're shooting 22 long
Yep.
rifles out to about 500 yards, and it's a blast, man. Tons of
Oh
fun. No
wow.
pun intended.
Nice. Yep. Yeah. Nice. Nice. Cool. Well, man, look, this has been really great. I really appreciate your time. Hopefully, you listening, if you want to find a way to connect with Chris, I hope we gave you great insight into who he is as a person, how he cares as a leader. Um, I'm going to take one step back because I wanted to touch on this real quick. You said something about to your wife, hey, I got to get something involved competition wise in my life. I can win in sales. I can win here. I can win there. I feel you. I get what you're saying. As soon as I get the ability to get this left leg of mine back to a fighting mode, I'm back on the mats in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu to get my black belt because I left it purple. So I'm like almost there. But I get what you're saying. It does make you a different leader, doesn't it?
Mhm.
When
It
you're
absolutely does.
competing. So what, just real quick, what does that competition fighting spirit do for you as a leader?
It makes. I think when I'm competing, it you have to be on point, and you have to have that clarity. And some of the best ideas that I come up with are in the middle of something totally unrelated. I'm in the middle
Yeah.
of shooting a match, and I've got 90 seconds or 2 minutes to hit these 12 targets that are at varying distances, and some are over here and some are over there or whatever. But you know, I'll get up off of the ground or off of this position I'm shooting from, and it will hit me. Oh my gosh! If I do this, if we put this
Mm,
follow up plan in place, and it sounds good
yep.
because they don't go together, but sometimes it's correlating what I just did that worked that I didn't think would work, but I tried it and it did. But this is in competition in shooting. Then maybe if I do something I don't think is going to work over here, it can be a total game changer. And actually, with our storage facilities, Jeff, we're putting all this automation in place, and that totally came from a competition I was at where I was talking with another shooter, and we were talking about some ways to practice to get better because anything in life, if you don't practice, it's really difficult to get
Yep.
better. You can't just wait till game day to show up and learn what you're doing. And in that conversation, we were talking about automating a few things, and something that he said just clicked, and I was like, crap, we can automate the entire process of someone renting a unit, a storage unit. We can automate them signing the paperwork. We can automate getting their payments set up, and we already automate the recurring payments. But we can automate that entire front end process as well, and we can do it all with, frankly, we can do it without ever talking to them. And
Yeah.
I mean, we enjoy talking to our renters, but we have a lot of people that go to a website at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and rent a storage unit. Now, I don't know
Yeah.
what's happening in their world at 2 or 3 in the morning, but they're renting storage
Mhm.
units, and we have people that we don't even know who they are. We'll see them on camera or see them at the facility. We look up their license plate number and realize, oh, that's that person that rented 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
They did it without ever talking to us, but all of those decisions were made based off of a conversation with someone at a competition.
Yeah. That's what, as we wrap up, that's what I call my puttering and scheming time. So I'm doing something totally unrelated to business, but allows your mind to open up. It allows your mind really to relax and kind of
Mhm.
take in, somebody said something to you and it hits your mind, like kind of squishes the brain differently right here.
Yep.
And it's like this activation, and it unlocks the 17 things you've heard before that were blocked off otherwise. And it just lines them all up, and the idea light bulb goes off, and you're off to the races. Folks watching, listening, afford yourself that time. You might think you got to hustle and grind 24/7, but really I find I shut myself off to more opportunity when I do that than if I just let the puttering and scheming time in. That's how I take it.
It's
So,
absolutely true, and it allows you to get out of the tunnel vision.
yeah,
Because I mean, if you live, eat, breathe what you do, it's really difficult to ever think outside the box. It's really difficult to even have a conversation sometimes. And so I think everybody needs something. For some
yeah,
people, maybe it's shopping. For some people, maybe it's reading, it's watching a book, it's going for a hike. I don't care. I just think if you can do something, I'm a fan of doing something outdoors. Um, I just think that God created this world for us to live in it, so we might as well enjoy it.
amen. Love it. Chris, my friend, been a true pleasure. Great to get to know you in the run up to the show, spend time with you here. I'll be spending time with you in Texas
Yes,
from
sir.
here on out. Thank you for taking the time. If you want to get with Chris about credit card processing, you want to understand more about some of the Facebook groups he's run around youth shooting sports, please do connect with him. We've had his stuff on the screen the whole show, chrisclear.net, atlanticmerchant.com. This is for those listening. You can find him on Instagram at the credit card processor, and LinkedIn, the Chris Clear. I like that one, the Chris Clear. That's good. But yeah, please do connect with him. Also on the storage facilities, rental facilities there. He's also got some great insights he can share with you there too. Chris, been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be on, man. It was an absolute pleasure, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in just a couple of weeks here.
Yeah, man. We'll see you soon. Take care.
All right. Take care.
If you're going to live a big ticket life and do business in life on your terms, you got to do big things. It's that kind of discernment, that kind of focus, that kind of forward thinking that's so important if you're going to succeed in business today. And so you unlock fortune and freedom without all the stress that normally comes along with it. The things that make your life successful so you do life and business on your terms.